Today's class is about the frontal bone. You can see the frontal bone. In Latin word, frontal bone means forehead. Now we'll see the location of the frontal bone. The frontal bone forms the forehead and the greater part of the roof of each orbit roof of each orbit, and it is going to form the most of the floor of the anterior cranial fossa. Now we'll see about the features and attachments. The frontal bone has got a main part. This is called as the frontal scoma or the squamous part. Frontal scoma or the squamous part. And it is having an orbital part. Here also you can see this is the orbital part. Now we'll take about the first squamous part or the frontal scoma. If you see, it is having the external surface is there. This is the external surface. And it is having the right surface. Here also you can see the right surface. And left surface is there. Here also you can see the left surface. And it is having an internal surface. This is the internal surface. And it is having a nasal part. This is the nasal part. And it is having a margin. This margin is otherwise called as a parietal margin or the posterior margin. Here also you can see this is the margin, posterior margin. Now we'll see surfaces one by one. That is the external surface. Well, if you take the external surface, this is the external surface. In the external surface, you can see the supraorbital margin. Here also you can see the supraorbital margin. Now, these supraorbital margin forms the lower limit of the external surface on each side, and they form the upper border of the orbital. This is the orbital opening. It forms the upper border of the orbital openings. That is about the supraorbital margins. Now we'll see about supraorbital notch. Here you can see the notch. This is the supraorbital notch, otherwise the supraorbital foramen. That is the junction between the lateral two-third. The junction of the lateral two-third of the supraorbital margin with the medial one-third of the supraorbital margin. That junction you will be seeing the supraorbital notch or supraorbital foramen. This notch is meant for the passage of supraorbital nerves, supraorbital artery, and a communicating vein between the angular and the superior ophthalmic vein. Next feature, we are going to see the superciliary arch. This is the superciliary arch. This is an arched prominence that is present just above the supraorbital margin. You will be seeing the superciliary arch. Now we'll see here this part, glabella. What is this glabella? It is a median prominence between the superciliary arches. There is a prominence that is called as glabella. Then we'll go for eminence. This is called as frontal eminence On each side it is present 3 centimeter above 3 centimeter above the supraorbital margin. There is an elevated area that is called as frontal eminence, otherwise called as frontal tuberosity. That is the thing. Now it is usually, this frontal eminence usually more marked in females. Now we'll talk about the metopic suture. What is this metopic suture? If you take the metopic suture, here the frontal bone, here one frontal bone is there, here one frontal bone. It is bilateral in origin. In origin wise, the frontal bone is bilateral in origin. And the junction of the two half is called as frontal or a metopic suture. You can see the some remains can be seen in the adult, that is in the region of the glabella. This suture is called as metopic suture. This is a metopic suture. Here you can see the supraorbital foramen, metopic suture. So metopic suture means it is nothing but the frontal bone is bilateral in origin, and the junction of the two half is called as frontal or the metopic suture. Now we'll see about the zygomatic process. So this is the zygomatic process, this image. The zygomatic process, the supraorbital margin is that the supraorbital margin extends laterally into the zygomatic process. The supraorbital margin extends laterally to a zygomatic process. This zygomatic process is going to articulate with the frontal process. Here you can see one process. This is called as frontal process of the zygomatic bone. This is the zygomatic bone. This is the frontal process of the zygomatic bone. So in the zygomatic process, you can see the supraorbital margin extends laterally into the zygomatic process. Then the zygomatic process articulates with the frontal process of the zygomatic bone. Okay. From here, you can see one curved lines are there. This is a line that goes upwards and backwards from the zygomatic process. This line soon divides into an superior and inferior temporal line. Here also you can see nicely. This is the zygomatic process. From here you can see one line is drawn. This line is dividing into above and below. This above is called as superior temporal line, and below it is called as inferior temporal line. So this is the two lines are the superior temporal lines and inferior temporal lines. Now we'll see about the temporal surface. This is the temporal surface. Here also you can see the temporal surface. This temporal surface, if you take the temporal surface, an area on each side below and behind the temporal line, below and behind the temporal line, you can see a surface. This is called as temporal surface. This temporal surface contribute to the anterior part of the the whole thing is the temporal fossa. It contribute to the anterior part of the temporal fossa on the lateral aspect of the skull. The superior temporal line is there that will give attachment to the temporal fascia. Inferior temporal line and the temporal surface of the frontal bone gives origin to temporalis muscle. Is it clear? Superior temporal line gives attachment to temporal fascia. Inferior temporal line and the temporal surface of the frontal bone gives origin to one muscle that is called as temporalis muscle. Now we'll go for the internal surface. External surface we have completed. Now we'll go for the internal surface. If you take the internal surface, this internal surface shows depressions. If you take the internal surface here also you can see some depressions are there and elevations are there. Depressions are there and elevations. Here you can make out depressions and elevations are there. These depressions and elevations are for the cerebral gyri and sulci of the brain. These depression and elevations are going to accommodate for the cerebral gyri and sulci of the brain. Now we'll see another one entity called as, here you can see the sulcus, that is called a sagittal sulcus. The sagittal sulcus, it is a midline sulcus in the upper part of the internal surface. This sagittal sulcus, its margin provides attachment to falx cerebri. The sulcus itself lodges one sinus, that is called a superior sagittal sinus. Now we'll see another one thing. This is called as frontal crest. Here also you can see this is the frontal crest. Okay, frontal crest is the, here also you can see the frontal crest. This frontal crest, the margins of the sagittal sulcus, this is the margins of the sagittal sulcus, meet in the midline in the lower part and continuous as the frontal crest. This also gives attachment to the falx cerebri. Now below that you can see a notch is present. A notch, you can able to make out one notch here. Okay, one notch. Okay, very clearly you can see one notch is there. Yes, that notch. A notch below the frontal crest is converted into foramen cecum by articulation with the ethmoid bone. Then an emissary vein passing through it connect the vein of the nose with the superior sagittal sinus. And if you see several depressions, we have already told, here you can see some depressions are there. Several depressions, these are called as granular foveolae on each side of the sagittal sulcus. These depressions are produced by the arachnoid granulations. These are produced by the, these depressions are there. These are produced by the arachnoid granulations. Now we'll go for the nasal part. Now if we take this is the nasal part. The nasal part is, it is a downward projection of the frontal bone between the two supraorbital margin. Then if you take the lower, its lower part is serrated. If you see the lower part, if you see the lower part is somewhat serrated. Lower part is serrated. Okay. Now each half of the nasal notch, here the nasal notch will be there. Each half of the nasal notch articulates with the three bones. One is the, this is the nasal bone. It is going to articulate with the nasal bone. And here you can see this is the maxilla. From here you can see one process. This process is called as the frontal process of the maxilla. This is the maxilla. From here one process you can see. This is called as the frontal process of the maxilla. Here also you can clearly see this is the maxilla. This is the frontal process of the maxilla. And also you can see here lacrimal bone. Lacrimal bone. So each half of the nasal notch articulates with the nasal bone, frontal process of the maxilla and the lacrimal bone. Then nasal spine will be there. It is nasal spine will be there. The nasal spine is a midline downward continuation of the nasal part. Each side of the nasal spine there is a grooved area which forms the roof of the nasal cavity. Now we'll see the posterior, that's all about nasal part. Now we'll see about the posterior margin. This is the posterior margin. This margin is otherwise called as a parietal margin because its major part is going to articulate with the parietal bone. Its major part, if you take its major part, is going to articulate with the parietal bone. The lower part of this margin is triangular. If you take the lower part of this margin, if you take, it will be triangular, and the rough of it will be triangular and rough. If you take, the lower part is triangular and rough for articulation with the greater wing of the sphenoid. Okay, for articulation with the greater wing of the sphenoid. So once again, if you take the lower part of this margin is triangular and it is rough for articulation with the greater wing of the sphenoid. Now we'll go for the orbital parts. If you take the orbital parts, it consists of a triangular lamina, that is the orbital plates. Orbital plates that are separated by a gap. This gap is known as the ethmoidal notch. So orbital part consists of a triangular laminae or orbital plates separated by a gap known as ethmoidal notch. Now if you take the orbital plate possesses two surfaces are there. One is called as the orbital surface which faces downwards. This is the orbital surface. This orbital surface faces downwards. It forms the roof of the orbit. Its anterolateral part, if you see the anterolateral part here, the anterolateral part, this anterolateral part has got a fossa for lacrimal gland. Anteromedially, if you go to anteromedial part, that is called as trochleophobia. It provides attachment to a fibrocartilaginous pulley for the tendon of superior oblique muscle. Now we'll see the inner surface. This is the inner surface of the orbital plate. This is the internal surface. This is the orbital surface. Okay. The internal surface faces upward and contributes to for the anterior cranial fossa. It has impressions for gyri of the frontal lobe of the brain. It has a groove for the meningeal vessels. You can see some grooves are there. These grooves are for meningeal vessels. Now ethmoidal notch. If you take the ethmoidal notch, this ethmoidal notch is a U-shaped gap that is occupied by the cribriform plate of ethmoid. The undersurface of its lateral margin possesses several incomplete air cells with complete ethmoidal air sinus when the ethmoidal bone is in position. Now, if you take the two grooves on the undersurface, if you take the undersurface, you see the undersurface. Here you can see the undersurface of each margin are converted into anterior and posterior ethmoidal canals by a similar groove on the superior surface of the ethmoidal labyrinth. This canal is meant for the anterior and posterior ethmoidal nerves and vessels. The undersurface of the anterior margin of the notch possesses openings for the frontal sinus. Now we'll see about the frontal sinus. This gap you can see, this is the frontal sinus. Can you able to make out? This is the frontal sinus. Each frontal sinus is an irregular cavity of variable size. It is situated between this is the outer table of the frontal lobe. This is the inner table of the frontal bone. They are separated from each other by a bony septum, which is usually deviated to one side. This is the frontal sinus. Here also you can see the frontal sinus. Frontal sinus you can see. Now ossification, if you take ossification of the frontal bone, if you take, it is ossifies in membrane. two primary centers are there, one for each half of the frontal bone in the region of the frontal tuberosity. The primary centers appears during the 8th week of the intrauterine life. The ossification extends upward to form frontal scoma and backwards to form the orbital part and downwards to form the nasal part. At birth, the frontal, if you take at birth, the frontal bone is made up of two halves separated by a metopic suture. Union between the two parts begins at the second year and completes at the 8th year. We'll see some applied anatomy of the frontal bone. The frontal scoma is soft and pliable in neonates, which can withstand a considerable amount of compression and molding, a fact clinically important during childbirth. This frontal scoma is prone to depressed or fissured fractures. In the neonates and the infants, the depressed fracture is often like a dimple in the bone. In the adult, the depressed fracture is always associated with irregular line of fracture. Now, if you take the fracture of the orbital part, here you can see the orbital plate is there. Fracture of the orbital plate of the frontal bone causes hemorrhage into the orbit. The orbital plate. The hemorrhage occurs a triangular shape under the conjunctiva, whose apex is towards the corneoscleral junction and base towards the orbital margin. A crack in the inner table. If this is the inner table, this is the outer table. This is the inner table. Crack in the inner table of the frontal scoma may damage a large diploic vein and produces small epidural hematoma. Then another is the almost invariably the fracture of the frontal scoma in the children are associated with the rupture of the dura mater. Then a gap in the frontal scoma, sometimes there will be a gap in the frontal scoma, will not be regenerating and has to be filled with tantalum or titanium, a procedure called cranial prosthesis. Thank you.